And from there, we're going straight to our next speaker, Philipp Krenn from Elastic. Hello, Philipp.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. How are you? Where are you joining us from?
Well, I'm at home in Vienna for a change. Unfortunately, I'm not in Israel this year because December is always very nice in terms of weather because Austria is pretty crappy right now.
Yeah, definitely less favorable in terms of weather-wise. And you're going to talk to us about something very near and dear to my heart, being a developer advocate as well at Logs.io. Then, the virtual situation in which we were all thrown into due to the COVID-19 situation. And you're going to share with us about the takeaways from 400 virtual talks since March. So
Yes.
I'll share your screen, and the floor is yours.
Let's see what we can do here. So yeah, thanks for the introduction. I wanted to show you what we are actually up to. So I'm a developer advocate at Elastic. I lead the European developer advocacy team now. Globally, we are like 20 people on the team. So that's how we got to 400 talks. It's not just me doing 400 talks since March, but all of us plus the community. So we kind of like track a lot of things. Being part of a larger organization, the problem is, of course, people will come to you and ask, like, what are you even doing and why are you doing this and why are we paying you to do all of that stuff? So that's why we got a bit better at tracking of what we're doing, why we're doing it, how we're doing it, what is working, what is not working. And I wanted to share some of that. So the first thing that we always need to tell internally, and it probably makes sense to establish that at other companies as well, is that advocacy is about reach and not leads or revenue. If you're about leads, then you're actually a marketing organization. You're just calling yourself community. If you're about revenue, you're a sales organization, and you're also just calling yourself community. So we are really about the reach. And our goal is to touch as many people using or being interested in our software as possible. Coming Corona, everything changed. Before we were doing a lot of in-person events. Nowadays, Elastic's policy is pretty strict. There is no travel at all anywhere and no in-person events at all. So it has to be virtual. So what we're doing is we're of course organizing our own meetups. There it's a bit easier to see what is working and what is not working because it's more under our control. But of course, we are also attending external meetups, doing conference talks like this one, lunch and learn sessions. We're doing like student sessions, sometimes workshops. And all of those we try to match together in some statistics, which might look something like this. Obviously, we're tracking everything in Kibana, but that will not surprise anybody. So you can see I'm almost lying in my title because we're getting close to 500 events now. And this is since the 1st of March, what we have been tracking. And you see like a bit of a seasonality in spring and then like in fall where stuff spikes and summer being lighter, but we actually kept a good cadence of events throughout the years. In terms of attendees, you can see there was this initial curiosity bubble basically when people wanted to do virtual events and everybody joined. Especially over summer, everything died down. And even though we did a lot of events, we didn't get that many attendees. And now in fall, stuff started to climb up, but we also see a certain amount of Zoom fatigue. And you can see blue is, for example, conferences, and green would be like internal conferences that we have been internal meetups that we have been organizing. So yeah, we reached almost 40,000 people since March with our events, roughly 100 people per session or so. For most of those, or for half or so of those, we also have YouTube videos, and those we are tracking as well. In terms of region, like we are broken up into APJ, Europe, Middle East, Africa, and North and South America. At first, when you look at those numbers, it looks very sad because it looks like the Americas are doing much better than everybody else in terms of average attendee per event. But for us, I'm not sure if that is a general trend, but at least for us, Brazil is working amazingly well in terms of virtual events. So if I exclude Brazil from that list, suddenly the Americas are only like in the middle, and then it's much closer between the three regions than it was before. So for us, Brazil is really an outlier, and we're not really sure yet why. We have a good advocate there, but we have good advocates in other regions as well. We'll need to try to see how we can replicate that to other regions, or if that is really just specific to Brazil. We do use the usual tools, often Zoom, YouTube live streaming. The meetup platform that we use is Bevy. The nice thing about YouTube is that once we have the link, we just track the views over time, and you can see how many YouTube views we get on our videos. So that's also another easy thing to track and then post. We're also trying to track like per event type, the average attendance, but that is very jumpy over time, so that doesn't show you much. Who is doing what? That is, especially within an organization, often an interesting question. So we are kind of like trying to keep track, like who is hosting our events, who is presenting, and what are the topics that we do. So this is just like the usual tag clouds where we throw in all the titles that we do, and this is what pops up to see what are we actually doing and what might be working or what might not be working. What is great about the virtual events, they just scale. I can do 3 events today in 3 different regions, and the cost is very low because, well, as long as my internet is up, everything works. The downside is, and I want to have like some interaction on chat afterwards, but in reality, interaction and feedback is definitely more limited with all those virtual events, and there is no good way around it. Especially sponsoring for us does not really work that well anywhere. One funny side note, sponsoring cost we saw go down in Europe and the Americas, probably because venues and food are expensive and you don't need them anymore. Whereas in APJ, we saw sponsoring costs go up. And we don't really know why, but our guess is that like international platforms like Hopin and so that many conferences use, they are priced in dollars and they're the same everywhere. So before, events in APJ were often relatively cheap run. With the international platforms, like the costs even out everywhere. So it's the same amount to run an event in EMEA now or in NASA as it is in APJ, which is kind of an unexpected development for us. And of course, the stats for this talk will go right into this dashboard afterwards. So if I give this talk again, it will be part of that data collection. Thanks a lot. If you have any questions, like we have a lot more of those little dashboards and screenshots in there. If you want to know more, ping me on chat and I'm happy to dive further into it with you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Philipp, and that's definitely a challenge for all of our industry. I guess the question that popped into mind, you touched it at the very last slide, saying that the downside is, or one of them that is more significant to me, is the direct interaction that used to happen on the physical events in between the talks. You know, when you got to the way to chat, to get the feeling and feel the pulse with the developers, not just relaying, outbound communication, but also get the feedback in. And that's, I guess, the big challenge for all of us. Do you have any tips on that, or are you still struggling with that yourselves?
I have the feeling there is no good replacement, and we're very much looking forward to in-person events because there is just no replacement over having lunch together or a coffee and then just having a discussion, and it's just much more natural. And also most people are just very tired of any chat and any other Zoom call and whatever. So if I say like, hey, I'm here, I'm a sponsor, just talk to me, everybody's like, not another Zoom call. So I'm afraid it's just not working out that well for some stuff.
Yeah,
so
I agree with you. Anyway, I'm looking forward to having the physical events again and also hosting you in Israel. Thank you very much, Philipp.
Thanks.
I just wanted to join to say hi to Philipp.